for those important words. And we are going to celebrate today. And specifically, we're going to celebrate and we're going to honor someone whose contributions to the community and whose contributions truly to the world are not only given boundlessly, but selflessly. Thomas Warfield is a man that most of us here today know, and surely most of us would like to emulate as a role model for human empathy, goodness, and activism. I didn't know it at the time, but growing up, my mother planted the first seeds of my connection to Thomas and the Warfield family. As Thomas has heard me say many times, I grew up listening to my mother's Leontine Price records. My mother played Leontine Price on our old monaural turntable probably more than she played any other records. Many years ago, I had the pleasure of getting to know Thomas and learning more about his amazing family, including, of course, his uncle, the great William Warfield, whose voice probably more than one of us have tried to emulate. Absolutely impossible, of course. But also, who married that very same extraordinary talent, Thomas's aunt, Leontine Price. Thomas also having the honor of knowing your mother, Reverend Bernice Warfield. I know how much the role that she played in your life, and again, the role that she played in our entire community. She was a special woman, and I know how much you miss her, but truly, we share the love and respect that you have for your mother. Following in the footsteps of those family members, Thomas himself, of course, is a force in the dance and arts community here in Rochester. As director of dance at the NTID Department of Performing Arts, as the driving force behind the William Warfield Scholarship Fund, which funds scholarships at the Eastman School of Music for talented and deserving African American students, and as a one-man ambassador who brings dance not only to his students but to the community at large, and who brings justice to the community at large. Thomas's role in the arts community of Rochester and in the broader community cannot be overstated. Of course, Thomas is also a leader in the LGBTQ plus community, where among the many roles he has played, he produced the annual World AIDS Day concert event for over 20 years. I could go on at length, but we came to recognize Thomas today. And so let me start by reading a proclamation from our Congressman, Joe Morelli. Joe couldn't be here today, but did send this proclamation. This is a certificate of special congressional recognition presented to Thomas Warfield. It is the practice of this member of the U.S. House of Representatives to take note of and publicly acknowledge those exemplary individuals and organizations who have attained outstanding success in their respective fields of endeavor, and in doing so have brought distinction upon themselves and their communities. Attendant to such concern and in full accord with its long-standing traditions, this member of the House of Representatives is justly proud to recognize and honor Thomas Warfield of Rochester, New York, for his tireless advocacy on behalf of the LGBTQ plus community, his devotion to making the arts available to communities worldwide, and a lifetime of artistic accomplishments. Now, therefore, I, Representative Joseph B. Morelli, do hereby honor Thomas Warfield, for his unwavering commitment to improving the lives and building a brighter future for the people of the 25th Congressional District. Thomas, why don't I have you come up and join me? And this proclamation is given under the hand and seal of the United States House of Representatives this 15th day of July, 2022, by Joseph D. Morelli, Member of Congress. Thank you, Joe. We also have a proclamation, of course, from the town of Brighton. Whereas, representing people from across all cultures, income, geographies, and religions, the LGBTQ+ movement has helped people embrace their authentic selves while pursuing legal protections and expanding civil rights for all. And I can't stress that enough. For all. And whereas the LGBTQ+ community has worked tirelessly for respect, equality, and their very right to exist, and while remarkable progress has been made since Stonewall, this group has been singled out anew as some states work to silence the LGBTQ+ community and erase the LGBTQ+ experience. And whereas this is a grave time for democracy and human rights in America, but is also a day of celebration, a weekend of celebration of Rochester's 50th annual Pride Parade, a mainstay of summer celebrations enjoyed by the LGBTQ+ community and its allies. And whereas today we honor acclaimed performer, educator, and prominent advocate for LGBTQ rights, Thomas Warfield, who has remained steadfast in the face of oppression and adversity, and who is known for extending his hands of peace across lines of conflict and promoting the arts as a connecting force between people and cultures. Or whereas, mentor to artists and advocates and activists, and of course, artist activists, Thomas Warfield is the Director of Dance at RIT's NTID Department of Performing Arts, the producer of the local World AIDS Day event for over 20 years, a recent recipient of the New York State Commendation Award, and a talented performer. I could go through the whole list, but we'd run out of paper here. A talented performer who seamlessly weaves art and narrative together to promote dialogue on some of the most pressing issues of our time. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, on behalf of the members of our Town Council, do hereby celebrate Rochester Pride in the town of Brighton and joyfully honor Thomas Warfield for his dynamic contributions to the arts and the LGBTQ+ community. And this proclamation is signed this 15th day of July, 2022. Thomas, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Congratulations. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. Sometimes I guess I get a little speechless. Recognition is actually a necessary part of our growth as human beings, to recognize one another, to acknowledge the value that we each have in each other's lives. And so I'm very grateful to, in a way, accept this on behalf of all of us, because each of us are valued and each of us are important, and each of us make a difference in not only our family and our community, but in this world. And so I thank you for that. I was trying, when you first mentioned to me about giving me this, I thought, well, I don't live in Brighton, though. I mean, I don't know. But I did have a little short story that connected me to Brighton, so I thought I would tell it. When I was in first and second grade, I went to the Harley School, and that was 1968 or 69. It was a time I was the only black student at that school at the time. And, 1969 was the time of Stonewall, landing on the moon. There were lots of things happening at that time. And I had a friend in first grade named Billy Martin. And the story actually starts before that. It starts way back in Athens, Greece. And there was a woman named Anastasia. We called her Tessa. And she was lived in Athens, Greece. She was Greek. And in 1952 or 53, she went to an amphitheater in Athens to see a concert of William Warfield and Leontine Price. And the last part of that concert, William Warfield sang Negro spirituals. Well, Tessa had never heard a Negro spiritual, actually had never even heard of this kind of music before. And it impressed her so deeply that it remained with her whole life. Jump a couple of decades later, or a decade or so later, she married a man who was an architect and lived in Webster, New York. She moved to Webster, New York. Her son Billy went to Harley and was in my first grade, and we became lifelong friends. And my mom used to take me to school every morning and pick me up every afternoon. And one afternoon, Tessa came over to the car and said to my mom, would you mind if Tommy, which is if you've known me since back then, you probably still call me Tommy. Could Tommy come and spend the day with Billy at our house? My mom said, oh, sure, yeah, sure. And she said, I've been meaning to ask you, have you ever heard of a man named William Warfield? And my mother said, well, it's my brother-in-law. He's my brother-in-law. And she says, oh my God, and she told that story. Well, as Tessa had told me this story many times, she had the idea that she wanted to honor not only William Warfield, but how he had touched her life. And so she went to the Eastman School of Music and created the William Warfield Scholarship Fund in 1977. And since that time, the Scholarship Fund has given scholarships to many, many, many students studying voice at the Eastman School of Music. But I tell that story partly because it illustrates the power we each have in living our authentic lives, in doing the thing that you're to do. You see, the thing is, we are all born with a kind of gift that the world needs in order to expand. In order for the world to grow and to evolve, it needs us to grow and evolve. It's actually, when you think about it, we are the world, right? And so by living that spark in yourself, you give permission for everyone else to live that spark in themselves. And that's the actual change that happens. Because the thing is, it happens from the inside of us to the out. And so when we allow our inside person, our being, our very essence, to shine into the world, it lights up everybody else to do that too. And so, in some ways, I guess I learned to do that early. But I don't shine alone. And I don't do anything or accomplish anything alone. I'm standing on the shoulders, in a sense, as Evelyn would say, that of all the people who came before me, and even of the people who are here with me, we kind of lift each other into the sort of next evolution or revolution of our lives. And so it's with that awareness and understanding and compassion that I thank you for these wonderful gifts that I've been given so often lately. And I accept them, and I humbly accept them on behalf of you and the work and the love that you put into the world. So thank you so much. Thank you.